So now we're going to switch to the other answer that's in the mind when the dreamer says, "Who am I?" which we're saying all of the time. And we as we progress, we're going back here less and less to this sinful self that's trying to be separate at all costs. And the development of trust, which is talked about at the beginning of the teacher's manual, involves learning that everything I need is in my own right mind. I don't have to go anywhere for it. I don't need anything external, though my answer from the right mind may show up in some form which seems to be external. That will seem to shift a situation on the level of form, but it's coming from up here. So one way that you can always recognize that is that everybody in the situation is blessed and you are at peace. Now, it may seem like somebody's unhappy. Let's say somebody is trying to guilt you into doing something and you don't want to do it, and you go to your own right mind and look for guidance. And when you feel peaceful enough or calm enough, you realize that the kindest thing for you is not to do this thing that they're trying to guilt you into, and you're peacefully able to say that. No, that doesn't work out for me right now. But you do it without rancor, without defensiveness, without unkindness. And you are blessing them, whether they realize it or not. They may want something in form that they're convinced will be better for them if you do it. But how can they know that? They don't know their own best interests either. So it's in their own best interest. If you can peacefully say, this is the way I'm being guided, you can be sure because the right mind is unified and they have a right mind too, the same right mind, you can be sure that that answer is for them too. That they're going to be guided to something else, some other form that will address their need. So everything we need here. So for instance, one of our strategies in the wrong mind for staying separate was having problems. And it seems everybody's got just endless problems. And when you solve a problem in a certain way, then you create more problems. Like government solves a problem over here and starts restricting this, and then that's going to create another problem over here that needs more legislation to change that, or policy changes. So that's always going on. But here, as the workbook tells us, let me recognize my problems have been solved. There's only one problem, that I chose to believe the story that I separated. That's the only problem. And it was instantly corrected because the Holy Spirit's right there saying, no, it didn't happen. You're just dreaming. That's the correction. And if I can accept that, that's what it means to accept the atonement for ourselves, is accepting it didn't happen. I am dreaming. I'm dreaming everything that is happening. So I learned to see that all the different characters in my dream are part of me. Nobody sneaks into your dream at night. When you dream at night, everybody who's in the dream is some part of you, some aspect of you, and they come out of your consciousness. So everybody in my waking dream comes out of my consciousness. So very often they will show up as a temptation to go back here. Or I want to keep on a mask that keeps me looking good. So I would say the workbook of A Course in Miracles, whether you go through the whole workbook or not, and many people find they cannot do it, even after many tries, but you can at least open it up and read some of them. Those lessons will take you from here to here. That's where they're coming from, all those statements. So let me just read some of them. God is the light in which I see. So I don't see with my eyes. God is the light, this right-minded light in which I see, and I see things correctly. It's really correcting my misperception over here. My correct perception is, this is something that I'm dreaming. And I let the light of kindness shine through that And so I can have mercy on these different characters who show up and seem to be misbehaving in my dream. They are parts of me. They are part of me that's attracted to the misbehavior, that's still attracted to having somebody out there who's the sinner. So God is the strength in which I trust. Being here, one of our default settings is being weak. If you're in a body, you're automatically weak. And I love the lesson that says, strength and light are one. Strength and light are one. So it's also, the Course says, you're always choosing between the strength of Christ and your weakness. So that's, in other words, choosing between the right mind where the strength of Christ is and the wrong mind where you're automatically weak and little and helpless and need to defend yourself. So I would say the workbook lessons are one of the best strategies, what I call atonement strategies, which is just the correction, getting free of the trap over here. This is like one of those bear traps, you get your paw stuck in. And it's clamped around us and keeping us in this prison of littleness and guilt and fear and needs. And this alignment here with awareness starts to remind us that we are so much more than this little person's self. Smiling is a wonderful way to get out of that. You watch yourself do that and say, oh, here I am in this situation. I would rather have this family drama. I would rather be unfairly treated. I would rather be sick. I would rather be needy, and I would rather be getting thrown into jail than have the love and the oneness and the perfection of God. Isn't that crazy? You could start smiling at that. I have a word that was given to me, I would say maybe it was 8 or 9 months ago, came into my consciousness, and that word is darling. Now, for me, the word darling, if I say something is darling, it's like say a baby is darling. Oh, she looks so darling. It's not sarcastic. It's just, you're just looking at your own shenanigans. Oh, look at my little self pretending to be sick. Isn't that darling? And that happens when, pains appear in my body. Bodies don't feel. That's one of the ways that you can get free of the whole sickness thing. The Course says very clearly, bodies do not feel anything. They are just blanks. They're puppets. They're mental constructs. And then we project pain, the pain of separation, onto them, and it seems like, oh, my hip hurts. Seems my back hurts. Seems my head hurts. And so I'm going to have to get something in form that's going to fix those things. Well, nothing in form will fix those things, though it may seem to. Which is not to say that you don't do those things, but you just start to have that recognition. The minute that there's a symptom in the body, you say, oh, isn't that darling? Oh, look at that darling pain in my knee. How cute. And it brings you to smile. That breaks that serious connection, taking the symptom of whatever it is so serious. So, but I thought that I would read this one lesson here, and then we'll conclude with that. This is lesson 283, My True Identity Abides in You. Father, I made an image of myself, and it is this I call the Son of God. Yet is creation as it always was, for your creation is unchangeable. Let me not worship idols. I am he my Father loves. His holiness remains the light of heaven and the love of God. Is not what is beloved of you secure? Is not the light of heaven infinite? Is not your Son my true identity when you created everything that is? And then it says, now are we one in shared identity with God our Father as our only source and everything created, part of us. So these lessons are so powerful in helping you to make the shift and get unstuck from the bear trap there in the world.
So